Okay, people. We're gonna just let this run for a few seconds or whatever. It calms my nerves. It's like meditation. It's like gospel. So it is November 7th, 2018 at 8:30 in the morning. I've been up since 6 because what's happening is I'm working outside. You can see that, right? Working outside, you can see that, right? I'm working like a dirty damn dog. Coming into some real grody shit. But I'm waving through it, people. So anyway, before I go outside, which will be like within the next hour, right? I'm just gonna bundle up. And I'm gonna get up into the hen house area, okay? AKA little seedling room / playhouse, right? Craft room. And I'm gonna try and get into insulating it with the plastic because the wood flooring that I put down in it, I don't want it to get saturated so much so that it begins to get overwhelmingly wet to the point where it breeds mold, right? That type of thing. There needs to be like an equilibrium in there in terms of moisture and dry air, so that when you layer these things on the dirt, when you walk into the enclosed area like a greenhouse, you don't smell mold, right? It's very important not to grow mold. So I'm going to take my energy today and get dressed and head straight out there, and I'm bringing the camera with me. Now keep in mind, those guys out there, they're all out there still, what do you call it? Working, banging, clashing, and clanging. Which, I've been wanting to say this. Being that, the topic that I focus on a lot is fentanyl and how it's just killing off people in British Columbia, Canada, like execution squads. It's the perfect killing machine, people, because it doesn't make loud noises. It doesn't leave a trail of blood. It doesn't make, it doesn't leave casings. Like if you were to use a gun, you leave casings and gunpowder and all that, right? Guns leave blood, noise, gunpowder, casings, physical damage. You can see it shooting through a wall, that kind of shit. Fentanyl, you don't see nothing. Okay, all you have is a speculation, and then eventually a blood test to confirm that speculation. And a lot of cover-up around that speculation, because it's being used as a murder weapon. And when you look at the statistics for British Columbia, Canada, in terms of who's dying in proportion to male or female, obviously men are the leaders of the pack. Okay? Sorry. It's what do you call it? I don't have the statistics on me right now. I either have them printed out and put away in a binder, or they're easily accessible online. So we're going to put it at 70%, 60% males. Between 60 and 70% males, right, are dying off in the province of British Columbia, Canada, relating to fentanyl, versus the other 30 to 40% of females. And then when you look at the coroner's report, right, because the coroner of this province is the one that writes the statistics, right, and confirms and rubber stamps the accident, or rubber stamps the suicide of these people, whether they're males or female, who are directly dying from fentanyl in one form or another. It doesn't matter if they injected it. It doesn't matter if they snorted it. It didn't matter if they smoked it. It didn't matter if they tasted it. It didn't matter if they were hot capped, as in murdered like Shimei. It is all rubber stamped. So when you look at the statistics, okay? When you look at the statistics as to who's dying in this province, we know that it's more men than female. And then when we look at that group of men, we're being told, right? The general public is being told that it is those guys outside in the trenches that are building up this building boom across this province. Okay? In other words, it is just hardworking men that are out in the fields putting up fucking rebar and cement and stucco and digging tunnels and back alleys to lay new pipes, all this other shit, freezing their asses off. And then for whatever reason, go home. And many of them people are dying. However, the other side of that equation, okay, now you're getting into algebra. Remember we start off with that little, what is it called? We start off with the little equation first, okay? You answer the question, you get this far. But then you have to add on just a little more so that when you get to the answer, you're down here. And if you have to, you turn the page, okay? Because it's not simply those guys out there that are kicking off. There is a high population of very vulnerable, disenfranchised, poor, mentally ill, drug addicted, just don't have the community support, as in like Shemai's case, to go to college, be the best that she could be at an early age so that she can somehow skirt with that death at the door, saying, okay, well, you know, you have to sacrifice one in order for the rest to be able to live in the house. It's like a sacrifice around here because nobody's door is safe. They pick one here, pick one here, pick one there, but they somehow get to loop, and here's the point, somehow through the coroner's office, through those statistics, okay, they're in one, it's like a forked tongue. In one breath, they're saying, oh, well, they're just construction workers who are mainly dying, right? Because they're so depressed with being outside digging holes to lay pipes or, you know, pour cement or fucking carry rebars or whatever it is these construction worker men are doing. They went home and they killed themselves, whether by accident or whether by suicide. Some are just so depressed they went home and snorted something. It doesn't matter what you snort in British Columbia, Canada. You know, it's all being laced with fentanyl. Because it's the perfect murder weapon, people. Right? Some people take illicit drugs, and this is through my travels with working with the homeless people, for the simple fact of it's a pain remedy to help keep them going forward in life in terms of get up in the morning, put on your work jacket, get outside, freeze your fucking ass, to be told that you're just a construction worker, nothing more, nothing less, out, nothing more, nothing less. But don't worry, if you work hard enough, you might be able to have a retirement and look after your family, even though we have no plan for that in terms of that you can sign on as a union member to protect yourself with your own pension plans in the future, because that's not what it's about, people. It's about that public union sector protecting its own pension plans before they will protect the public's pension plans. So if these guys kick off one here, because what I'm trying to say, really, I should, now that I'm on this rampage, I should upload this first before I go outside and just keep the two videos separate, right? Because this is so important, because it's like a forked tongue, right? I hear two different things, people. I read the statistics, I look at the coroner's report, I look back into history as when fentanyl first came into British Columbia, Canada, and how it was introduced into the public, how the public became desensitized to the fact that teenagers are overdosing on so-called heroin, when in fact it was the fucking fentanyl that's killing them. It was the precursor. Heroin was just the precursor to bring in a more dangerous drug to lull the public to sleep. so that we can blame the victims as this shit is being washed. It's not even handed out. It's being washed. It's just being like a flooded out into our communities. As we blame those guys out there right now. You go. I dare you. I challenge you. Go read the coroner's report on regards to the death of people dying in this province with fentanyl, and she will, or he, or whoever writes these things, will blame those guys in my back alley for killing themselves. Because they were either depressed and just wanted to die, or they took something by accident because our public union sector has absolutely no ability to protect us. Because it's the perfect killing weapon, people, to bring in those organs, whether through puppies and kittens or whether through ghouls and devils. Forked tongue. Right? So, the coroner will be, and it's very subliminal, very suggestive. There's other words in the stores that will give you what I'm trying to tell you, how these people trick the public into thinking one thing as they're doing something else. Okay? Because they don't want to completely blame the homeless for this crisis. Right? Although they do. Through fake media, through the main media sites, those types of things, it always centers back to the homeless, to the junkie. Those are the ones that are fueling this drug epidemic in terms of, drugs like candy with, death like being normal. And because they're drug addicts, homeless, mentally ill, the general public just takes the first thing that it sees and then gets angry at them and say, well, the sooner you die off, the better our problems will be. But on the same breath, when you go into the report, it will suggest that the majority of the people dying in this province, obviously males, that work within the construction industry, which takes away from the homeless crises, right, which is a multitude of different issues. It's like it's like this, okay? Right? You don't know what to believe. And if you don't get into the bowels of it and do even a little bit of research, the first thing you're going to grab onto is it's a welfare problem. The lowest of the low in terms of income and that type of thing, right? And not even being really aware that a lot of these construction workers out here are below that poverty line and are taking any kind of job that they can get through these private companies that are building up the province, keeping them within their own form of poverty where these construction workers can't rise above, never mind rise and secure pension plans and safety nets for their own family because the economy is so messed up, and therefore they become depressed and easy targets to knock them off with fentanyl, people, which kind of takes away from the homeless problem and all that. But yet, when you're introduced to fentanyl as a viewer to an article, it always kind of roots back to that lower income group. Okay, I'm kind of going in circles here. But a lot of the people that are the construction workers also come from that lower income group. Okay? Maybe at one time they were on unemployment insurance because there was no building to put up, right? And no jobs, right? Maybe they were on welfare for a little while and somehow managed to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and got a job on a construction site. So it takes them out of that general statistic and it just moves them up by one level, right? So when they working men that die off because they go home after work from being outside all day, freezing their asses off, right? Just so that they can say that they're working and being treated fairly, right? Which many of them are not, right? They go home and just simply kill themselves out of depression or by accident. So based on that, every dude that's out there working right now on that whole fucking site, okay, I don't know what the percentage is of one of them or two of them or three of them or four of them dying off from fentanyl in the next 2 years is in terms of that statistic, you know, that projection. Because somebody out there, sooner or later, is going to die from fentanyl as the coroner's office sugarcoats it and says, oh, well, it was just some hard-working construction worker who just couldn't handle life anymore and decided to snuff himself off, right? It has nothing to do with us, right? It has nothing to do with the fact that maybe one of his buddies followed him home and decided that he didn't like him and wanted to knock him off. We're not going to investigate that because we like the real numbers coming in when we get these young, healthy men out in the fucking fields in the fresh air, exercising their lungs, just go home and knock themselves off. And then we're going to put out the propaganda, right? And convince the public that it all has something to do with people like Sierra, who are the junkies in society and can't control themselves at all, right? In terms of drug addiction. But we got to protect the Sierras and make it so that everybody can do drugs if they want to. Right? They can have their $5 worth of fucking fentanyl. Knock on your door and say, here, let me shake your hand. It's legal. And then when I walk away and you drop dead because I shook your fucking hand and I didn't like you when I did it and I didn't tell you that I didn't fucking like you when I fucking did it and you drop dead, your family, I'm telling you, your family is going to stand around saying, what the hell happened? You're going to call the cops, and if it's something that they fucking want, they're going to make sure that whoever died, whoever's hand I shook, their body will be taken to the hospital, and the charade of Shemay will happen all over again. So people can get paid. How they're getting paid, I haven't figured that one out yet. I know there's kickbacks to the provincial government for every homeless person, for every poor person that's on welfare dies, people. Permanently dies, is permanently removed from the welfare rolls. Whether they're on the system or out in the fields working on a construction site that might not bring in another job after they're done that job. I'm yelling into the camera before I go outside because honestly, I'm angry that I have to go outside and all this shit again today. But then on the other hand, my grandson tells me he loves this yard. He doesn't want to move. He wants the pond. I don't want to live in an apartment, Nana. Where are we going to go, Nana? So right now, the mission is to try and insulate the greenhouse and the seedling room, right? I'm going to get the plastics going on my own, and then what I can't do, if I can't do it, I'll ask my son to quickly help me. And then once those are done, I can relax and get on to other things. I have to dig leaves and mulch and all that into the ground, right? Maybe throw a few potatoes here and there before it freezes, right? That takes a few days, right? That's a lot. It's work. Work, people. Work. And then when I get knocked off, people will be saying, well, she was depressed because she was always out in the yard and, you know, as much as she tried to brave the storm and be happy about it, we knew she really never was. And so, you know, we shouldn't be surprised that she killed herself, right? Because, you know, it's a sign of the times. And you know, if you look at her record and you look at her family's record, everybody in that family was depressed, but it had nothing to do with us. No, because we only serve the public.